This episode of Derpy Dragon is sponsored by Shutterstock.com with over 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips. Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 30% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code GAMEBREAKER5. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of Derpy Dragon, a brand new free-to-play show right here on FreeToPlay.tv. If you don't know what FreeToPlay.tv is, you should probably watch this on GameBreaker TV. You gotta go check out our new site called FreeToPlay.tv. So go over there as well. Go to FreeToPlay.tv. That's our new site. I'm Gary Gannon. Coming up on today's show, we got dragons everywhere. Shadowrun Online talks about money, and Star Trek Online is looking a bit green. All that and more. But first, joining me for the premiere episode in many after, the internet knows him already, and he's wearing a deep V. Michael Byrne, aka Magic Man. What's happening, brother?
Gary, didn't see you there.
You gotta look away a bit. Oh, yeah. I didn't know you were here. Sorry. Excuse me.
Internet, hello.
Oh, hello. How are you?
Yeah, Q told me I had to wear a V for my inaugural show here, and I think I got trolled a little bit, but I wasn't going to be outdone, Gary.
Yeah, no, I'm not to be outdone. Yeah, looking good, looking good. It's pretty deep. It's really deep. It's a little almost uncomfortable. It's uncomfortably deep, bro.
All right.
You might have a nip slip on the show. We might have an incident.
Oh, I'm already cutting glass. Give me 1 second here.
Oh, you had one ready for the show. You had a show ready. Oh, I thought you meant like after the show.
Oh, hell no, right. I wasn't wearing that the whole time.
You're like, no, not doing that. Not doing that.
It never attached, actually.
We launched a brand new website called FreeToPlay. You are a very big component to that website, sir. Helping with a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff and everything going on, running it, writing, and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. If you guys haven't checked out, it's FreeToPlay.tv. That is our new site, all free-to-play stuff. So we decided to do a free-to-play MMO show. Had a completely different name just a few hours ago.
Yeah, just a little bit. We were going to pay to win, and then all of a sudden you were, hey, Byrne, we're doing something different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so here, here's the honest truth of the story. All of a sudden, we're sitting there in chat, and we're like, "What MMO company is ever going to re-social or talk about being on a show called Pay to Win?" And I was like,
"Yeah,
wow, you're right. We're gonna get no love from anybody. We can't call the show Pay to Win, even though it's a cool name. It was like tongue in cheek, and we're kind of joking around. No game would want to be associated with it."
No, take a look at Neverwinter on the latest Pay to Win.
Yes, exactly. It's like, I don't know what we were thinking and why that kind of happened, but I don't know. Then I was trolling around for some artwork, because that's how we do. We make artwork and we come up with show names like 5 minutes, like hours, like 2 hours before the show launches. I'm coming up with artwork, making lower thirds, the whole nine. And yeah, I don't know. We found this dude. I liked him. And then Q in our chat said, "Oh my God, look at Derpy Dragon." And I was like,
the horse looks pissed.
The horse does look pissed. He's like, "You get off my back, bro." And hence, Derpy Dragon stuck. Don't ask me why, but we're on a roll for names of shows this week. Launched another show called Unicorn Duck Shadow Puppet. That is our WildStar show. Now Derpy Dragon. I see a trend happening here, and I kind of like the trend. I like the trend. I gotta say, I really do. It's a lot more fun.
I do. I like Derpy Dragon. At first I was like, no, don't put the dragon on there. It looks like it should be wearing a helmet. No, and then the name started growing.
It was like, Pay to Win. Then it was going to be Free to Play Friday. Then it was going to be like F2P like cast or something, like all the normal bullshit, podcast names that people come up with and put on the internet. It's like, all right, nobody's coming up with Derpy Dragon. Done.
Right.
Moving on.
Google, one result.
Yes. All right, so let's talk about dragons. It's Derpy Dragon. Let's talk about some dragons. So, Dragon's Prophet flew into open beta this week.
Oh, I see what you did, Gary.
we had a similar conversation on Twemo last week about Neverwinter. But Dragon's Prophet is now at the point that they're taking money, so they're accepting money. Anyone can play it. There are no character wipes.
None.
This is the trend with MMOs, right? They open beta is launch, right? Like they really, isn't it kind of launched?
Yeah, especially in free to play. I mean, you saw this trend start maybe about 2 years ago, where the open beta became more of an advertising campaign than an actual get in there and test this and let us know what's broken and what doesn't work. And ever since then the founders packs got bigger and bigger, and I know we'll talk about those in a minute. But yeah, open beta it's launched now, especially in free to play. Why do you think this is becoming a trend though? I mean, like maybe there's a really large portion of the community that doesn't really understand. Maybe it gives them kind of. I mean, if you think back about it, if you really think about it, I think maybe Google was probably with Gmail was probably one of the first companies to kind of do that. Remember how long Gmail was in beta? It had that little tag up on the top, and it was like beta. I've had my Gmail for 6 years. I can't get this one setting right. Well, it's still in beta. It's still in beta. It is. It's like your get out of jail free card. But I don't know. Yeah. This is probably just going to continue. Which is a little disconcerting right now, because a lot of companies seem to be hiding behind it's in beta, but the cash shop has no problem functioning. So a little iffy right there. How long do you think these games should stay beta before they like kind of officially launch? If you had to put a time frame on it. When it's ready. Oh. Soon, TM. I don't think you can say a time period, because a MOBA is going to take longer to do than maybe a trading card game. An MMORPG is going to take longer than a MOBA in most cases. I don't think you can put a time period on it, but if you're going to start charging money and taking huge, substantial sums of money, I don't think you deserve the right to be in open beta or beta still and be able to hide behind that excuse. I don't think you can put a time period on it, but when you think you have a product that's ready to launch and charge people for, whether it's free to play or not, that's when the open beta tag comes off. Because that's sort of essentially like the feeling that you might give players, is that like, okay, if you are in beta and there are sort of things still being worked on and tweaked, why am I paying for your beta? Like, even if it's open betas the whole beta thing has changed so much over the years. I mean, I'm an old fart. I remember the old days when like beta testing literally meant beta testing, filling out bug reports and like doing detailed information. And if you didn't do that stuff, they just kicked you out. Like you were not. Yeah, there was a time that we got paid to beta test. Yes, right? Yes, this is true. It's crazy, and now it's all changed. Now it's utilized just like pre-order games and start launching. I don't know. Do you think gamers expect sort of like a big massive update and like a ton of PR buzz around their sort of like launch when it actually does happen? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think Neverwinter, we're going to talk a little bit about that later, but Neverwinter's kind of already given the impression that they're going to do that. They put out a state of the game stuff about a week ago and talked about huge PvE raid style content with PvP intermixed there in 2 to 3 weeks. And now we're looking that it's going to have a full launch sometime soon. I'm not sure the exact date's been announced yet, but I would expect it's going to coincide right with that big content, because players expect something. It shouldn't just roll from open beta to launch with, okay, well, thank you for the money. We fixed as much as we could. We're going to go ahead and launch this bad boy. There has to be some defining characteristic that separates beta from launch. Yeah, and I don't think any of us want to just see like a quiet removal of the little open beta badge or something, and just like no major changes, and that just like floats away. Dragon's Prophet even had like pre-order packs with early access to the open beta. Are you feeling like this is a bit shady? I mean, I don't know. A lot of these like different ways that they're positioning this stuff is, I think there's a lot of conversations about what's cool and what's not. And I don't know. Are you okay with it? I wish I could say just yes or just no. But it's really one of those things that's a case-by-case basis, and it depends on their payment model. Guild Wars 2, remember if you pre-ordered, you got beta access. It was a little bit of a perk for doing the pre-order. Okay. they weren't necessarily asking those people to come and test it. It was just, look, we'll give you some playtime if you're going to shell out the money for us. And so I can see that aspect working. And in the free-to-play market, it totally makes sense to at least try to get a little money like that out of the people that are going to support the product and maybe give them a little early access. But the Founders Packs are all over the board right now.
Yeah.
Dragon's Profit in particular, anywhere from 15 to like 75 USD. Then 2 days before they stop selling them, they go on a 25% discount. Tell me if I didn't buy it 3 weeks ago, I'm not ready to flip a table over that. But in their defense, they gave you some goodies, they gave you beta access, and they gave you station coins equivalent to the amount you bought. So it literally was the beta and the items are extras. You're giving us money, we are giving you station coins. Oh, and by the way, we'll give you these other things. Mm-hmm. There's other games where access to the beta is the selling point of the Founders Pack, which I think is absurd. It's absolutely absurd, where you buy into just a beta or a beta with 1 or 2 extra goodies. It's ridiculous and on borders on extremely greedy for the rates some of these packages have been.
I agree with you, though. I actually really do like SOE's take on this. I mean, it's the trend of how, like, the games, dropping all the other stuff aside, whether these games are like launched or not launched, open beta, whatever. But I do actually like SOE's take on this, where they give you the station cash. And on top of that, what's super cool about this is, let's say you don't really, let's say you tried Dragon's Profit, or let's say you tried PlanetSide 2 and maybe you got some station cash from PlanetSide 2. Now Dragon's Profit's coming out, you can use the station cash for any of their games. So it's like, and they're giving you the equivalent amount. So I actually think it's a pretty cool model, actually. It's sort of like saying, I don't know, it doesn't feel like they're gouging whatsoever, then they're giving you that amount of station cash. But you did, like you said,
and Sony Online isn't historically very good at cash shops, but that is a nice perk of their Founders Packs program, at least.
So each of the packs had a ton of basic items in them, and the more expensive packs that they have come with some badass dragons and armor, weapon skins, things like that. Even a house. So I don't know which pack.
Here is a house for you, sir.
Which pack?
Thank you for your $75. Have a house.
That's the largest. That's a $75 pack. You actually get the biggest, you get a house. So, but you're gonna throw down a good amount of money. But it looks like a good amount of free stuff, at least, included in the packs. And I'm sure it's comparable items in the cash shop would probably cost you more. I got to check this game out at the Game Developers Conference briefly. I did not get to play too extensively. I know you've been playing it a bit more. What do you think? I mean, you've checked it out. What do you think of the game?
Well, let me ask you this: what did it play like at GDC?
I only got to see like a sliver of it. So I was in like a random area with a bunch of mobs, and I wasn't really playing with anyone else. So I didn't start with a character creation. I didn't get to like see some story in the beginning. Nothing. I was just like literally dropped into the middle of an area, and it was like, some mobs to kind of grind on, jump on a dragon, fly around. They just kind of wanted to give you the feel and flavor of the game, and it felt okay. Like everything worked okay. The controls felt good, and some of the combat felt pretty fluid. So that's about the extent I actually got. I didn't get like any story.
Right.
I mean, I got the presentation from SOE about what the game was going to encapsulate, and what they were looking at for PvP later on with those areas. It's escaping me what they're going to call that area. That whole, I don't know.
I don't know. I hate PvP.
I love it. But all right. So what do you do? You've been playing it now that it's an open beta. So what do you think of it?
Yeah, I played it in closed beta. The reason I asked that is, GDC was only a few months ago, and then they had the closed beta. Dragon's Profit kind of came out of nowhere. First off, I mean, nobody saw it coming. All of a sudden, beta was up in Europe, and the United States, the whole Western market was okay. I'm on board. I'm going to check it out. When do we get it? You'll get it when we're ready. Oh, by the way, that's tomorrow. And then closed beta jumped in, and then boom, open beta in May after being in closed beta for like a month and a half. And Q and some other writers and I had played during closed beta, and there was some interesting things there that we wanted to check out, but the game was virtually unplayable in a closed beta sense. And not that, there were bugs and things like that. You totally expect that. I mean, you're talking about things where abilities and their tooltips had placeholder names in closed beta just a few weeks ago. So you had no clue what certain abilities did, and that's kind of an important part of the game. So when it went to open beta, which got delayed by a few hours or so because they needed to give all the Founders Pack people 24 hours of access, but they had to pull it down for maintenance in that 24 hours. So the open beta went live last night, whole new client. I start playing it, and it's a lot smoother. And I'm like, okay, great. They just had all these changes. They kept stocking them up. Boom, dropped the client. But there's still placeholders in the game. It's very hard to get immersed in Dragon's Prophet. As many good things as there may be with the whole catching the dragons, combat isn't that bad. It's got a few things that I don't like, where everything sort of stacks on the monster and you can't see what's going on. But there's placeholders in quest text. Literally, I had a quest 6 levels in that was just to capture a dragon, and the quest target in my quest text and in my tracker, it had system 04447-name.
Oh, that's the you didn't finish quest system 0444-_5269. You didn't finish
I assumed by the quest text and the name that I was supposed to capture a dragon, but I didn't know if I needed 1 or 6 or a certain type or something. And then when I found out, all I have to do is turn around right behind me, capture this dragon, and come back, and I'm done. I'm like, why is there a placeholder for turn your butt around, capture that dragon, and come back? There was nothing that needs a name. Buffs and debuffs still have placeholders. I expect bugs in beta. I expect the group finder not to work or have issues, or the PvP matching to not be quite on par with abilities and things. But this is your starting zone of a no-wipe open beta, and we've got placeholders galore all over the thing.
So you're feeling like this is a bit premature to even call it an open beta.
Yeah, and I wrote about that on the FreeToPlay.tv news site, Party Game Breaker. I wrote about that there when we talked about it going to open beta. I specifically asked you guys, do you think it's ready for open beta? Because I didn't, even though I had assumed they were going to be dropping a whole new client. There's some interesting things in the game. I am going to check it out. In fact, it's going to be the next DAT game there, Gary. But it's very hard to get immersed in. Oh, perfect example. Can't believe I almost forgot this. Big Dragon comes flying in, throws 3 or 4 fireballs in a little cutscene, blowing up villages. And these wooden buildings, they're going everywhere. Looks great.
Sounds
Looks
awesome.
great. Yep, pretty awesome. And you're like, okay, land, and it's on. But then you're like, wait, something's odd here. Because in the cutscene, all you hear is the zone's music and the ambient birds. That's it. There's no sound effect for this big-ass dragon.
for this dragon or these
3 fireballs, no sound effect. Buildings, boom, no boom or nothing. It's all right. I guess we're fighting.
All right, I guess we're gonna fight this big dragon that doesn't make any sound.
So it's really hard to get immersed in, and I'm sure those little things of polish will come. But this was the starting zone, one of the 3 starting zones. Another cool little feature. But these were the starting zones to make your first impression on an open beta with no wipe. But the cash up works.
Hey, that's always the first thing to work. All right, but all right, who do you think is so my limited time play with it? Who do you think is like is this game geared towards? Because when I played it and got the presentation from them, I immediately thought of people who are collectors in games for sure. Almost kind of people like, filling that like sort of Pokemon niche of, I can imagine a lot of players wanting to collect as many dragons as they can because I don't even know how many there are, but there's tons of them. That seems like a huge component of the game is just collections. I don't know. What do you think the game's biggest selling point is?
It's that right there. In a nutshell, it's that right there. It's Q yesterday. Q should be. Where's Q? Bring her on. Her and I were talking about this. She said, "Well, it's got catching dragons. It doesn't need anything else. They don't have to finish the rest of it. There's over 300 dragons. There are some really cool things going on there. With some dragons can fly, some can run, some can swim. They can't all do the same thing." So there are nice abilities there. And then even if you catch 2 of the exact same dragon, they may not even necessarily have the same stats or same abilities. You may get one that has a more rare ability on it than the other. So it definitely definitely is going, hey, there's no Pokemon MMO, but we heard you fantasy guys, you love dragons. We got over 300.
It kind of feels like
100%.
It definitely fills that niche. What'd you think of the combat in general? Because that's one thing that I got to mess around with a little bit, and it felt pretty decent. It was pretty responsive, and it felt pretty good from when I played it.
It's definitely responsive. It is a neat kind of a hybrid combat where it's kind of Terra action. You do have to be facing your target. You do have to play with range and play with positioning and things like that. If you aim even a little bit to the left, your ability that's a straightforward thing's going to miss. No big deal. So it is very engaging like that. It is hotbar oriented too. So no, there's no tab targeting. It's more on the action side, but still utilizes a traditional hotbar. They kind of mix it up with the key bindings a little bit. But there are some issues with it, and one of which is the animations are a little bit off. Again, a beta polish thing, but you're charging money. And everything stacks. So I was playing a ranger, and I'm trying to keep range on these things, which eventually they just get to me anyway. And my dragon's in on the combat too. And it's not your ranger and the monster standing there. It's your ranger and the monster standing there with the dragon jumping up and dive bombing the monster. So everything's landing on the same spot. Animation-wise, it looks pretty, but it's not polished. But it did seem functional. I would be interested in seeing it in PvP, which I take it back. I do like PvP. I'm just terrible at it. I don't know how it's going to behave there.
Before we move on, I want to go back to the cat shop and taking money thing. The flip side of that argument is that these games are not necessarily charging anything, and if you want to download Dragon's Prophet right now and play it, it is free to play, correct? So you don't have to spend money, do you?
You don't have to, guys. It's free to download. In fantastic Sony Online Entertainment fashion, there may not be a clear black and white line for pay to win versus not pay to win. There's certainly going to be aspects of this cash shop that people are going to argue are bordering on pay to win, if not crossing the line.
Like what? Give me some examples, because I know this argument came up.
Yeah, crafting is one of those systems where extra little items that you insert into the crafting process. Here's your recipe. You need A, B, and C. But if you slap D in here, we'll give you a higher chance at success and or better quality items. I can see that following normal progressions where those extra chances of not failing items may be in the game, but they're just readily available in the cash shop. So, no clear line on pay to win. But in fantastic SOE fashion, there are elements, at least right now, could change, it's in beta, there are elements of pay to have fun. Definitely. For instance, your bag slots, it's terribly limiting. It's one of those one bag deals with a bunch of rows in it, like Star Wars The Old Republic did, and you keep unlocking the next row. At level 10, you get one row. At level 20, you get one, but then that's only half of the total bag space you can have. The rest are unlocks that get progressively more expensive with station coins. Your dragon stable, you can have two. You have to unlock the next 4 slots with station coins that get more and more expensive along the way. Your dragon lair, we give you 2. And the next 4 that you need. If you're going to be a collector and you want all of this stuff, those are elements that it's really not a negotiable for you to buy. You need them.
Yeah, but again, the free-to-play market does have to make money somehow, and none of those things are pay-to-win whatsoever.
No, it should be absolutely free, Gary. They should do it out of the kindness of their heart.
Give everything away and then only have a donate button. Just put a donate button in the game. If you like this game, please give us $1. No, it's not going to happen that.
And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't have a problem with that, but I do categorize it as pay to have fun. It's definitely not pay to win. You don't have to buy it. You can play it. But if you really, really intend to get into this, there are a few things that are going to be high on your priority list as considered purchases. Are
you going to suggest people actually keep an eye on Dragon's Prophet? Do you think it's worthy of definitely getting an icon on your desktop?
if you like the whole collecting achievements and or collecting items or collecting bits of lore that if you played Skyrim and all you did was look for books, it's definitely at least worth checking out. You will capture a dragon right off the bat, a few levels in, so you don't have to put a lot of time in to get to the game's core gameplay, which is that capture aspect. So it's definitely worth a look. If you're not into the whole gotta catch them all thing, I don't think, in my opinion, it's doing enough to pull you away from another game.
All right, well, check it out. Go to and check out Dragon's Profit and keep an eye on FreeToPlay.tv for more news and info on that. I want to talk a bit about Shadowrun Online, but first I want to tell you guys about a great deal we got going on with Shutterstock. That's right. Go over to Shutterstock.com. Use promo code GameBreaker5. You're going to get yourself 30% off. If you guys have not checked out Shutterstock, they've got, stock footage, stock photography, stock artwork, vectors, drawings, you name it. This is the premiere episode of Derpy Dragon. Some of you may be wondering, where does one get such amazing artwork?
Gary, if I wanted a knight on a horse, where could I get that?
I wonder where you could. Maybe. Oh my God. Shutterstock.com is where we got Derpy Dragon. That's right. That's where we found this little bad boy. So there is just tons of stuff on here. And this is like, I've been saying it. I call it our secret weapon. I say it over and over, but it's really true. Because I get asked all the time, like, where do you guys come up with this great artwork and like all these cool pictures and stuff for your website and all this stuff? Do you guys hire like, custom artists and all that stuff? And it's like, no, that sounds expensive. We don't have that kind of money. We go to Shutterstock because there's amazing artists right here on Shutterstock for anything you need. Whether it's like, little icons and, you just want to put little icons on your website and make your navigation custom and stuff like that. Shutterstock, just go there, search fantasy icon sets, shields, whatever you want. They got tons of it. So that's where we got the Derpy Dragon little mascot, I guess you could call him. It's kind of awesome. I like Derpy Dragon. Check it out. Going over Shutterstock.
He's grown on me.
He really is. He's grown on everybody. Everybody's going to love the Derpy Dragon. I got to find out if we can make shirts of Derpy Dragon. Go over to Shutterstock.com. Use promo code GameBreaker5. You're going to get 30% off. I do not know how long this offer is going to last. I really don't. It is the most Shutterstock has ever offered off. I guess that matters. It's the most they've ever offered for a promo. 30%. I don't know how long it's going to last. So go sign up. Make an account today. Use promo code GameBreaker5. Shadowrun Online. They unveiled their free-to-play model. First of all, Mr. Byrne, tell me, what is Shadowrun? An IP. It's like an IP with a cult following, right?
Just a bit. See, now we're back on normal terms. You called me Mike at the top of the show, and I was like, I didn't know Gary knew my first name. And in the meetings, it's just, Byrne, what are you working on?
Byrne, what's going on? Byrne. Because, I call you Byrne. I don't call you Magic Man. You know why I don't call you Mike? Because we have so many mics.
Yeah, there's only 70 of us.
There's like 70
And I couldn't even
people.
take Mike B, because then that was, obviously Mike B. So then I couldn't even be the phony Mike B, because he went ahead and took AKA phony. And I was like, Magic Man, that'll work.
Magic Man or Byrne. I went with Byrne, but tell me about Shadowrun.
Shadowrun, you haven't heard?
No.
Anyway, the classic IP. It's about 20 years old now. Old tabletop game, SNES, Genesis. Which one do you like better? Xbox. We had one there. Bit of a futuristic vibe. If you're not familiar with Shadowrun, it's kind of a future of Earth where mega corporations have kind of dominated the landscape, and people are being genetically modified, and magic is now being able to be used through this genetic testing. But then there were errors, and the humans have become the elves and the orcs and the dwarves and the trolls because of genetic mutations. So they were all humans at one time. And everybody basically tries to conform to what the mega corporations want them to do. And the people that don't are the Shadowrunners. They're the seedy underbelly that tries to do different things against these mega corporations. And it's a constant battle between the two of them. Although the mega corporations let them get away with a little bit because they're useful, Yeah, that's Shadowrun for the. I have no idea, and I had to do it in 2 minutes. Explain it to somebody who doesn't know. That's the basic gist of Shadowrun.
So now tell me about what is Shadowrun Online exactly? What kind of game is it? I mean, this is fresh from Kickstarter, right?
Yes. Just came off of Kickstarter a little while ago from Cliffhanger Games. Successfully funded, massively over successfully funded. And it's going to be classic Shadowrun RPG, almost tabletop elements in a massively multiplayer frame. So Gary's sitting down playing Shadowrun tabletop with 3 friends. Well, now he can take almost that same concept, even the isometric view and things like that, and play it with hundreds and hundreds of characters in the world as well.
Okay, sounds really cool. Now,
if you're a Shadowrun fan, you're super stoked about this.
You're super stoked about this.
Yeah, because if you're a Shadowrun fan, you're like, don't screw it up.
Because they've done some other Shadowrun games that were like completely different, right? Like just using sort of the IP, and this is really trying to take the core fan base of what the tabletop experience was like and bring it online. Explain this to me now. So there's free to play players, and there's going to be campaign players, and that's actually more than just subscribed, right?
Correct. Campaign players, if you go to their Kickstarter, you can't do it there, but you can still donate on their page at certain dollar brackets, just like a Kickstarter. And there are certain brackets that if you pay certain amounts, you are considered a campaign player, which actually the description caused a little bit of confusion, which was cleared up this week. But campaign players are going to have that ultimate tier of access where there's items in the game that free-to-play and subscription players will only be able to get through real cash transactions, and your campaign players will always have the option to get those same items with the in-game currency. So they are the top tier of players. They're the ones that, if Guild Wars 2 had a free version, think of it as campaign players were the people that bought the box, and they had unlimited access to everything that's in the gem store with gold in the game, gold and platinum in the game. And then subscription players will have some buffs to karma and money and things like that. And then you have your free-to-play players, which don't have those buffs, and there's certain items that the only way they can get them is a purchase through the cash shop.
Purchase through the cash shop. So it sounds like people who are interested in the Shadowrun IP, the campaign player is the way to go. They're basically in the status of you really want to probably go check this out and look at this and maybe punt down a couple bucks. So yeah, they can buy everything in the game. They're going to get the boost. They're going to get the better, and they're going to get better drop rates as well. Is that true?
Yes, they're going to have a better chance for more epic or oddball items to drop. They also have a bigger influence on the outcome of the game and
explain
future storylines.
How are they going to? Yeah, they're going to actually get to influence the game in some way in the overall story. How is that going to work? How are they going to facilitate that?
Well, I mean, just like in a tabletop game, any tabletop game, your actions, Gary, determine a possible series of outcomes that your game master will take, right? You go and kill something, the game master probably had elements of, what if Gary doesn't kill this guy? What if Gary kills this guy? What if Gary gets into a fight and rolls a 1 and, oh crap, this thing kills Gary? What are my possible outcomes? Well, based on the behavior and the way all the campaign players play and certain actions they take, certain storylines in the overall Shadowrun universe, Shadowrun Online universe, could be shifted based on the way they play and the choices that they make. Their actions are taken into account slightly more than the free-to-play or subscription players' actions are taken in. So, very interesting, and it totally makes sense with Shadowrun Online, because that's the type of game it is. You get into hacking, you go do that, and you have a series of potential outcomes. And they have to decide, okay, this is what our player base did. These are the 3 storylines for our main campaign, or however they're going to organize it. Which way do we go based on the way our player base is playing right now? Potentially very interesting, potentially catastrophic, too. So we'll see.
Yes. One thing people were questioning, but everyone's playing in the same world, so there's no separation between the free-to-play players and the campaign players. So obviously that's the way it should go. But yeah,
there was big time confusion on that one now, because of the way the Kickstarter was worded.
How did they actually They just come back and kind of...
Yeah, they had to clear it up. They finally did this week, but the way the Kickstarter different tiers were worded, like for instance, the $25 thing was a campaign ganger, and it said you receive exclusive closed beta access from day one, free wallpaper, digital copy, and a copy of the game for the campaign server. So that led many people to go, well, okay.
That means there's going to be separate servers for the... right.
Exactly. And so there was a lot of confusion on, wow, that's really quite a different story than most free-to-play games are going right now. They did clear that up this week, finally. I think it was a little overdue. Everybody will play on the same servers. However, their matchmaking and group making tools will have the ability for Gary to exclude free-to-play noobs if he wants.
What do you think of this? This is another thing that the community is wondering about. It's slightly odd. So free-to-play players, they're going to have to spend real money, like you said, to buy certain items. And although they can subscribe at any time, they're still going to need to buy the campaign pack to get all the perks, which is a little weird. I
guess you could say it's a little weird, but again, let's go back to the Guild Wars 2 example that I kind of laid out, because I think it's the one that explains this nicely for people who haven't read on this one at all. If you had that guy who bought the Guild Wars 2 box or girl that bought the Guild Wars 2 box, we'll pretend Guild Wars 2 has a $3 sub option, and then we'll pretend Guild Wars 2 has a free-to-play option. It's like telling those free-to-play players, hey, if you want to bump up to a subscription for $3 a month, we will give you X number of karma boosts in Guild Wars 2 per month, X number of money boost, X number of experience boost. But if you want that top tier of stuff, these little bonuses, and that top tier of bigger influence on the story, more chances for epic drops, we do want you have to go and buy the box Guild Wars 2. Transpose that onto Shadowrun Online, and it does make sense. We still want you to buy the box if you want that top tier, but we will give you some of what that top tier has if you just want to give us a couple of bucks a month. I'm kind of okay with this model.
It's a bit confusing, but it actually kind of works. I think it does work. I don't know. A lot of people are super happy about it. I'm watching chat room while you're talking, and people who are into Shadowrun are extremely excited about this. So
oh yeah.
Definitely go check this one out.
This one, I'm sorry, Gary. I like a big piece of this payment model. I get excited about this one, and they could totally screw this up. Don't get me wrong. And it's not even out yet. You can't play it. But there's something about everybody that plays free-to-play games wants the game to be free-to-play. But when they find the one they like, they want it to be a subscription-based game.
Yes.
Excuse me. And so Shadowrun, I think, gives you a nice kind of option for all of those. And there are games that do tiers, right? Sony Online is a big proponent of tiered content. But this one, I think, is very interesting. I'm going to watch it closely because it has the potential to be kind of unique and maybe a model some other companies, bigger companies, would look towards once they see the success rate. Yeah,
it seems like an interesting hybrid where the subscriber actually really feels like they're truly a subscriber and sort of appreciated for that kind of spending that monthly dollar. So, all right, let's move on. Star Trek Online came out with its Legacy of Romulus expansion recently. Interestingly, to players used to subscription games, it actually came in the form of a free update.
Yes, it did.
Is this usually how free-to-play expansions are working these days? Did SWTOR not get the memo? What happened?
My cartel was a fee. No, actually. When you do take a look at it, it's kind of hit or miss. It depends on the game or the company. There's certainly an argument that could be had for Star Wars The Old Republic, and Rise of the Hutt Cartel probably in some cases should have been part of subscription players package. Okay, I get that argument. But no, it's not standard to be giving them free out. I mean, EverQuest still charges for its most recent expansion. And then what they do is all previous expansions are given to free-to-play players, and the current expansion is charged. Lord of the Rings Online, same thing. Dungeons & Dragons Online, Menace of the Underdark, same thing. So there's certainly precedent for both ways, it being free and companies charging for the expansion.
And I mean, this would be a huge. I imagine this is a huge draw right now for us people watching the show.
Big
Right?
time.
If you're into free to play players, man, an entire expansion just came out for STO that is completely free, and I don't think there's any arguing here that this is a real expansion, right? Like this isn't just like some little content pack. Like there's tons of content and stuff jammed into this expansion pack.
Oh yeah, when you get a whole new race to be able to play, when you get that hasn't previously existed in the game before and now has to have its own 1 through level cap storyline or story arc built in, and then you get the filling in of some previously missing content and some fleshing things out. Yeah, there's no doubt, especially for the size of a normal Star Trek update, there's no doubt that this is an expansion for the game. Although funny, they've been kind of coy about using the word expansion, but there's no doubt it is.
There's no doubt it's an expansion. There's tons of content. Did you play STO at launch? I played a little bit at launch. Wasn't really my thing. Kind of had some issues. But have you played since launch?
I have. I'm more of a Trek-E with a question mark at the end. I don't know where the border is. I'm a Star Trek fan. I watch the movies, I've watched the shows, and stuff like that. But I can't tell you what episode number William Shatner said something. I have no idea to that extent of Star. So I'm a Trek-E. So I did play at launch.
Have you felt it's improved?
Oh, most assuredly, yeah. Even if Star Trek isn't your thing, it's still worth, if you played it at launch, go back and check it out again, just for a sheer MMO archival knowledge in your head of how something can change over time. It's definitely changed. It was borderline unplayable at launch, depending on whether you went Klingon or Federation. So yeah, it's definitely a lot more playable, a lot more enjoyable right now. I've been to that site.
Oh my God! Look at that. That's called FreeToPlay.tv. So if you guys want to check it out, I would point you over to FreeToPlay.tv and go look in the MMO sci-fi section, and we've got a whole, the good, the bad, the full Star Trek online overview, tons of information. You have videos, everything. If you guys have not checked out the new site, it's awesome. And if you want some more information on Star Trek Online, this is the place to go. It's FreeToPlay.tv.
Yes, we know, guys. We're missing games. we know
that is the tweets I get constantly every day. Like, you're missing this game. Yes,
we know. We're giving these all. We're giving these all, and it's not just me. You got to give credit to Sean and to Tori
all of our writers
and JK and just everybody, and Stephanie and Maximus. They're all great. They're all volunteers, and they're really putting their heart and soul into this as well, going back and playing these games right now, not watching Jim Bob's first look from when the game came out and writing this thing up for you. They're going and sinking time in and playing it, so we will get to all of the games. It's going to take a while, though.
We know there are many. We know there are.
There's a few of them.
We put together the list and we were like, okay, we could not launch this site for the next year. You could be doing this for the next year, or we can get a handful up, we can get them going, and we can launch the site and give some guys some of our views on how to play these, what these games are like. So, yes, we will get to them. We will get to them. But Star Trek Online is one of the games that we actually have up there. Like many free-to-play games, especially out of this, I guess, era, so to speak, because this came out a ways back. They launched with a subscription model. STO actually originally had a subscription. I hate using the word failed, but it did do so well. So. Then it went free to play. How did that transition go? How's the cash shop in the game at this point?
Initially, it went really well. The cash shop, especially when the whole acquisition from Atari to Perfect World happened, there was a lot of, oh no, Perfect World is getting a hold of the cash shop. That transition actually went very smoothly, and most people were pretty happy with the cash shop. From that initial transition. There are issues at the cash shop now, though. Perfect World did introduce their lovely lock boxes that require the master keys to unlock, and the master keys are only available in the cash shop, or somebody in-game has to buy them from the cash shop and sell them to you through the auction house or trading or whatever. And there are ships and things available in that box. There's a particular ship that's only available in that box, which requires a cash shop item to unlock. So there are issues with the cash shop now. However, I will tell you, if you're a PvP person for Star Trek Online, that impacts you. That could very well impact you. If you're a PvE person and you just want to go and play the episodes and things like that, it really should not stop you from playing. Unless you're just not a Star Trek fan, then why are you downloading it anyway? But if you're just a PvE person, the ships that you get in the game will be fine for you to experience all the episodes in the story. But PvP is essentially, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be this negative. PvP in Star Trek Online right now is broken. It's broken bad. They do need some fixes and some cash shop tweaks right now. It's just not as good as it used to be. And even when it used to be, it wasn't all that great, but it was okay.
Going back to the expansion itself for a quick second, it immediately has a vast improvement over the launch version, where I think for a lot of Star Trek fans, there's proper Klingon content now from level 1, which I think for a lot of players was that felt like it was definitely missing a very big chunk of the original game, did it not?
Just a bit. When you don't have any PvE essentially for Klingons until pretty high levels, yeah. I mean, it was like, why the hell? If you want a PvP, go ahead, get a Klingon. If you want a PvE, you didn't have a choice. It was play Federation or sit there and grind out the same daily stuff over and over and over again. Not to say that that's not Star Trek's endgame in a lot of cases anyway, for farming for dilithium, but yeah, Klingons had it rough for a long time, and now finally they do have. It's still not at the level of Federation, but they do have quite a bit of PvE that they can do from level 1 up now.
The main focus, tell me about this, how is this being received? Because the main focus of the expansion is the Romulans. That's one of the most popular races in Star Trek. So how is the new content being received by the community? What are the hardcore STO people feeling?
Well, most of the content itself is being received well on the Romulan side. The questing line, the story, the things like that. Everybody's been pretty positive about the content itself. There is one big gripe that some people have, and it's a pretty valid gripe, is that the Romulans they're not the Romulans that you know. Necessarily, because the whole storyline is you have to be part of this unification plan for the Romulan Republic. There's no option for you to join the other side and go for the Romulan Star Empire and be a little more aggressive and cocky, like the Romulans that you know from the show. Not to say that that's bad. It is fun content. It's fun quests and everything, but there are quite a few Trekkie fans that are more Trekkie than not Trekkierist, a little more Trekkier than I, that are a little bit miffed that you couldn't have it both ways. There's also they didn't introduce 3-faction PvP, which is what a lot of people wanted. Romulans end up having to choose to ally themselves with the Federation or the Klingon Empire, and then they participate in PvP from their respected ally.
Imagine them converting to a 3-faction PvP system would be a whole different, complete nightmare of balancing and changes. But I can understand why people want it, especially in PvP.
Right? Why not? Just throw the third one in. The 2-person isn't balanced anyway.
Oh, zing, zing, zing. Go check it out. Go check out our Star Trek Online overview over on FreeToPlay.tv. Go check it out. All right, so I want to talk about this. I want to talk about Dawngate really quick. I want to tell you guys about a great deal we got going on with Audible. You guys check out Audible, audible.com. Go over to audible.com/gamebreaker, sign up for a free 30-day trial, and if you use that URL, audible.com/gamebreaker, going to get yourself a free audio book. And they've got, well, if you're a Trekkie, there's plenty of Star Trek books on here as well. I haven't checked these out. I got to check this one out. I don't know much about these, but there's a lot of them on here. Jeez.
Just a few.
Go on over audible.com/gamebreaker. Use that URL. Like I said, they're going to give you a free 30 days on the to try out Audible. You download the app, you put it on your smartphone, your iOS device, your iPhone, your Android, whatever you got, and then you can be downloading your free book. There's also a bunch of other stuff, especially for MMO fans. There's tons of good stuff. I mean, there's World of Warcraft books, there's Star Wars books, there's I've been listening to Snow Crash, which is a classic sci-fi audiobook, but check it out today. Go on over audible.com/gamebreaker. So EA and Waystone Games are working on a new MOBA. It's called Dawngate. And the chat room starts spamming EA hate and worries that the business model is in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Dawngate looks great.
People are LOLing. I don't know. I mean, everybody's got to expect this. I mean, after League of Legends, it's only a matter of time before we start seeing more and more free-to-play MOBAs start popping up. But seriously, what's your take on it? I mean, if the MMO market is pretty damn hard to break into, how hard do you think it is right now for MOBAs between League and Dota 2?
I think that might actually be the problem right now, is that it's not hard to break into the MOBA market. It's just hard to stay there. It seems like every other week there's been somebody putting out a MOBA, and yeah, I mean, it was eventually some point EA was going to get in on it. EA actually already dipped their toes in this water too, to not a lot of success at all. The game didn't even come out of beta. But yeah, I think the harder problem is staying in the market than breaking into it.
They're trying to do some different things, which is kind of cool. So you can capture resource nodes, which after a certain amount of time will spawn workers who will then harvest resources for your team. So the enemy team can stop this, of course, and flip the point. So kind of right there, I mean, huge RTS influences right there inside your MOBA.
Just a little bit. It's like EA was like, hey, Command & Conquer free-to-play team, we need like 12 of you for a minute. Come here. Make this a little different. Well, we know how to gather resources. Boom, cut and print. Get it, ship it. Yeah, it's definitely RTS inspired. Not necessarily a bad thing, though. Going to be interesting to see if they actually impact a match to a great degree, right? Because they can have them in there, but if there's almost no impact to the match, besides a couple of extra gold and maybe getting an item 15 seconds sooner, okay. But if it doesn't tip things in one team or another's favor, then it really isn't going to matter how innovative that little strategy is. I'm more interested in some of the things that they're changing with their defense. I'm going to say towers here, but I know it's the wrong word. It's not the way the beacon, I think, is the way they're talking about it in here. If when you take them down, you do have a progressively stronger and stronger minions with different abilities, a special minion that you now get as you keep pushing your lane. But if the defending team can push that lane back, they can respawn that tower, and then your minions lose their abilities again. So it seems like, yes, if you make a mistake right off the top of the match, you're not necessarily going to pay for it the way you can in League of Legends or Dota 2. Or even Heroes of Newerth, but it also seems to push towards a more Zerg strategy sometimes, where get that first tower, buff up this minion, get that next tower, buff them up, and just keep going because they can't defend against this stronger minion anymore. There are some interesting things, but we saw what happened with Wrath of Heroes, which was published by EA, that went to open beta last April, and then in March they closed it and never released it. And for a game that was in open beta, in the FAQ it said it just did not reach its financial expectation. It was in beta, for God's sake. But there are financial expectations on betas now.
Exactly. I think it's a little too early to judge exactly how it's going to work. The other thing that sounds actually really interesting about this one is that for League of Legends fans out there, they'll get this, but instead of the traditional 3 lanes, Dawngate's only going to have 2. So it's only going to have 2 lanes, which is also kind of interesting.
There's a 2-lane map in Legends, though, isn't there?
Yes.
The forest one?
Yeah. Twisted Tree
Forest
line.
ones. Yeah, that's it.
So check it out. You can sign up for beta right now and go check that one out. Next up if you guys have been watching This Week in MMO, which you should be doing, we do that show as well. You already know about the troubles that have been going on over with Neverwinter. The issues continue this week with the auction house being taken down for a significant period of time. Mr. Byrne, is it still down right now, or are we up and running? Where are we at?
We are up and running.
Oh,
we are up and running. Now, whether or not all the features work, no, they still don't. There's some of them that don't, particularly searching by level. How did that one not work yet? But we are up and running.
Do we know what actually took place here? Was it more exploiting?
That is the assumption. However, unlike the first fiasco that took everything down, there have been no 100% confirmation, hey, we had somebody exploit. But that is the word on the street. When I was out at the bus stop and some dude was like, did you hear about Neverwinter? That's what he told me. There was an exploit.
On the street.
Right, on the street. That's where I get the free-to-play info for the show. So yeah, we assume it's an exploit, but no 100% confirmation.
So it's been kind of, like I said, it's been kind of, first the economy was exploited, then the game got a rollback to fix that. Now the auction house gets taken down. On top of, there's some other smaller issues. It hasn't been, but I guess they're not, well, you know what? They haven't really launched.
Oh, don't you say it. Don't you say it, Gary.
They haven't really launched now, have they?
Oh.
It is open beta.
Oh, he did it. He said it.
Tell me, how's the community faring with this, though? Do you think all these issues, are these issues turning a lot of players off? Are they okay with dealing with them right now? Because they are. Okay. What's
No, they're angry. They're angry. I like Neverwinter. Do not get me wrong. I just like Neverwinter in a different way. I have a max level control wizard, so I've played quite a bit of the content and the instances, and even PvP'd, which is virtually useless in the game right now anyway. But I like Neverwinter in the way that I like an arcade brawler. You know, I'm gonna sit down for an hour, check out a couple Foundry quests, go beat some things up, and then I'm gonna log off. I don't like Neverwinter the way I like most MMOs, where I'm sinking a lot of time and things in it. And I don't think you can, especially with all these issues. The player base is not happy. And we're not talking about the vocal minority right now. We're talking about a substantial portion of the player base that has been... The 7-hour rollback to me was kind of ridiculous for a problem that has been persistent, was reported in closed beta. I reported it myself in closed beta, so I'm not guessing if it was reported. It was an issue that I reported in closed beta. It persisted to open beta. It got exploited. They did a 7-hour rollback on a 2.5-week problem. I don't know. There's imbalance issues. PvP is virtually useless. There's almost no endgame. And I know that sounds terrible, right? It's like, why the hell should you play Neverwinter? But it's fun as long as you're not playing it from that respect, where it's going to be the MMO you spend a ton of time in. No, it's going to be something you sink an hour or two here and there. And that's why this is such a big issue. Because you're talking about even hardcore players playing it more casually, and when it has problems like that, there's no incentive for it to be your casual game anymore.
So what do you suggest players do right now? Do you think you should sit on the sidelines and maybe, like, again, see, this is actually the nice thing about free-to-play MMOs at this point, and like I'm going to try and look on the bright side here, and there's not a whole lot of bright side when games have issues like this. It sucks for gamers, because you want to play the game. The only good thing here is you can put it on the side a little bit and at least not have the burden or feeling that, like, oh my God, I'm paying a subscription fee for this every month. I have to play it. Because then a lot of players feel like that. Like, if they pay the $15 a month, they're like, oh my God, I feel compelled to play, or I'm like wasting my money. Are you suggesting that players kind of maybe put this one on the side and just let some of these issues maybe like burn their way through and kind of get sorted before they come back? Because I know MMO players are fickle, right? Like, usually when MMO players leave a game, they're not coming back. But
no,
there's a lot of fun to be had in Neverwinter if they can get some of these kinks worked out.
Absolutely there are. And when they implement more end game, or as Scott Hawk, elder game. Elder game. When they implement more elder game in a few weeks here, we could be talking about a totally different thing here. But yeah, it is definitely one that I would say, if you've sunk money into the game, then this should certainly be a little bit of an eye-opener on maybe you shouldn't spend money when it's still in beta. Because the only reason publishers and devs are going to do that is because they can make the money. And so this type of situation, I think, should serve as a little bit of an eye-opener where if you aren't totally sold on an IP, maybe you shouldn't be paying for it before launch. And yes, I would say, for me at least, it is time to set Neverwinter aside a little bit and come and look at it after I've seen some updates and some fixes, because there's problems that have persisted for a long time that just have not been addressed. And until they're addressed, there's not really much I can do with the game.
All right, this next section is brought to you by Netflix. Support Gamebreaker by supporting our sponsors. Going over to netflix.com/GamebreakerTV and sign up for a free, yes, I said free, 30-day trial for Netflix. That is netflix.com/GamebreakerTV. E3 is almost upon us. E3 is coming right around the bend, June 11th. It's going to be my backyard right here in Los Angeles. And Wargaming, the World of Tanks brothers and sisters, are heading to E3 with a 10,000 square foot space. They'll be showing off World of Warplanes and World of Warships. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the World of Tanks set up at conventions, but it is a sight to be seen. Last year they had tanks, I mean real tanks, full-size tanks, on the showroom floor. Full-size tanks. With more outside.
Hey guys, where's your cargo bay? Why? What are you bringing in?
A tank! Tank! They really do. Are you a fan of World of Tanks? World of Tanks is this weird thing. I cannot figure it out because I actually really, really like World of Tanks. And it is insanely popular in Russia and some other countries. Yet, for some reason, has not really resonated here in the U.S. like it has in some other places. Are you a fan of World of Tanks?
I am, but I'm a casual at best. Again, it's that whole, I like PvP, but I'm terrible at it.
Yeah.
So, World of Tanks, and I don't know if it's just I'm not Twitch, or I don't think about strategy enough, or I'm just, I'm terribad, whatever. So World of Tanks is one of those, I'm going to play it. It's like the way I play League of Legends. I play or Smite. I play a couple matches. I listen to people yell at me, and then I'm done. I go play something else.
I'm gonna go slay a PvE dragon.
Right? Yeah. You're supposed to. Oh, that character. You should be pushing middle solo. Oh, really? Really? Should I? You guys are in for a surprise. Let's do this. And World of Tanks is kind of the same way. I'm supposed to do what? Sure. Why not? All right. Is somebody gonna help me? Oh, I'm supposed. No, alone. All right. I'll see you guys in 30 minutes.
I think one of the things that may be holding tanks back a little bit in the States is just that maybe tanks just don't resonate with the U.S. audience, the Western audience as much. So, next game they're coming out with World of War planes. I don't know. I think this one, what do you think about planes? I think are much more of a Western audience kind of thing. You think this one is going to resonate a lot more with the Western players?
At the start, I think yes, it will. I have one friend in Russia. I called him. And I said, tanks or airplanes? And he said, tanks. So that tells me everybody in Russia does not like airplanes. So it's automatically going to be automatically going to be bigger in the United States. But no, just look at the flight sim market in the United States. And it's not even a market that gets a ton of advertising anymore, but it's still a big piece of especially PC gaming is the flight sim. In the day, that was the mark of your studio if you had a flight sim. And now it's still a fairly big market in the US. So I think, World of Warplanes is going to have a bigger edge to start. Now, will the gameplay follow up and make you want to keep playing it is a totally different question.
Well, we'll get to play a little bit more at E3 this year, so I'll definitely go and check it out. And then as of that, you should definitely check out wargaming.net. I mean, after that, they're looking at doing World of Warships, which is going to be the naval battle stuff. I mean, it's still too early to tell about that stuff, what that's going to be like. But their master plan, so to speak, is to one day, once Planes comes out, after Warships comes out, is to actually merge all of their games together and just have this massive war gaming thing craziness that just sounds awesome. Yes. Pretty crazy. Episode 1. Mike Byrne. Follow him on Twitter. Really easy to remember. Magic Man.
That's not my Twitter.
Why? What do you mean? Would I spell it wrong?
It's MAGICKMANN1.
Oh, you suck. You suck.
I feel like I'm on American Idol.
You are.
Little Missy put it in chat. Magic Man 1.
You know what? Mike Byrne, go to freetoplay.tv. There you go.
That site is correct. I will be there.
That proves to you that we were making the lower thirds like 13 minutes before the show, and nobody even got to look at them. It was just like, finish the font, get the color, yeah! All right, we'll get that fixed for next week. Mike Byrne, go over to freetoplay.tv. You can follow me on Twitter at Gary Gannon. And we are going to do this show live every single Friday following Twemo. So we say 4. I don't know if it's going to be 4. We'll figure that out. Maybe 4, maybe 4:30. All depends. But awesome first episode. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week for some more Derpy Dragon. God, I love saying that.